frightens me when I see these riders go for the mountain so fast. I cannot believe every year I watch it that they are going to climb this mountain, because they save nothing on their approach to it. They're racing for the best positions to get onto the slopes at the head of the peloton. Now we start the slopes and they have hit it so quickly. Watch the sprinters slowly disappear. This is Jens Heppner setting the pace initially at the front. He is a much above average climber, but it looked as though Ullrich looked in the spot of bother there, Paul. He looked down at his bike and he slowed down visibly.
This is a very tough part of the course here. In fact, one of the riders going clear here looks very much like Cedric Vasseur, the man who had the yellow jersey so many days ago, and that is a surprise to me to see him attacking at the bottom of the Alpe.
So Cedric Vasseur, the man who shocked, remember, when he launched an attack of defiance when he wore yellow going into Andorra, and then he saw Jan Ullrich go past him. There's the devil keeping pace with Cedric, but he won't keep up with him too long, I don't think, as Vasseur now starts the assault of Alpe d'Huez. Around about 40 minutes this climb takes.
Well, that's 40 minutes for the fast riders. The ones who take it a little bit longer are looking at 50 to 55 minutes and can lose 15 minutes on a climb like this.
And here is the other end of the field, where the riders are in no rush to get to the finishing line at all. Heitor Garmendia is the rider in the Once colours in pink, while Cedric Vasseur is the man who has started the attacks at the bottom. On a day, sadly, for certainly British viewers, when we have lost Chris Boardman, the GAN team leader, retiring today. A little bit of a gap, but not a great gap, and Brochard is the man setting the pace, but Ullrich already right there on the front row.
Certainly already Vasseur in a great deal of difficulty. Not a great climber, but a very courageous rider in Hamdine, and I think he'll be warming the hearts of the French spectators when they see at least a Frenchman at the head of affairs at this stage. Pascal Hervé now, I think, is taking over for Richard Virenque in the main field, and the yellow jersey now starting to look a little bit more comfortable.
Vasseur is back as we start the climb. Now this is Pascal Hervé. He's been riding well in the Pyrenees. He has been used by the Festina team as the man to go out on the attack and draw the sting of the other riders. And maybe they're going to use him today as the early pacemaker. Virenque in his slipstream. Ullrich just sitting there, crouched over the handlebars, pushing those big legs around. A game of being treated to the dancing figure of Virenque. He rarely sits down when he's climbing.
He's a great climber. He claims not to be a pure climber. He claims that, in fact, Marco Pantani is a much faster climber than he is on the hills like this, because Pantani has the most incredible acceleration when the slope is very steep.
I don't think I've ever seen more people on this climb. There are literally tens of thousands of them. Many of them here for days to try and find their favourite parking spot. There's Johan Museeuw, the world champion. He's taking a back seat now as he slows down. Here's Ullrich looking over his shoulder. I wonder if he's still looking for Bjarne Riis, as it's still also Casagrande in the red who's come up behind him. And Virenque as well. Ullrich looks across at Virenque. The top two riders in the Tour de France. Looks like they may be taking this climb shoulder to shoulder. Riis is there as well.
Riis is there, and also Marco Pantani's just thrown away his hat there. You can see the balding head of the little Italian climber moving over to the right-hand side. But what a man. Ullrich has come to the front. He's going to dominate the pace here to try and prevent these climbers from attacking him.
Well, what can you say about young Jan Ullrich? His face giving nothing away. He sits there, he pedals, he's always checking on Bjarne Riis. And I'm wondering, Paul, if indeed he wants to set this win up for Riis.
He may well want to do that, but that's a very dangerous thing to try and do, because if he does too much work, he could catch himself out at the top of the climb when it gets steeper and put himself in a position where the climbers will then launch attacks. Coming up behind Phil, in fact, the green jersey, Fernando Escartin. So all the top men of the Tour de France are here at the moment.
And just look at the variance in climbing styles. Little Elefantino now got himself to the front. He rides with his hands on the bottom of the handlebars to his own rhythm. Virenque sat back in the saddle for a change. Now a little acceleration by Pantani. This is the first. This is what makes a brilliant climber. Men who can just suddenly surge forward, blow out a few men, and then lift the pace another notch.
But for the moment, Jan Ullrich is comfortably in the slipstream of these two climbers. But every time they take these corners, that is when Pantani is going to accelerate. He's going to try and break the string, try and get away alone and look for that victory. He's the last man to win here at the top of the Alpe d'Huez, and the damage has been done. There are only 4 leaders now, Phil, because Casagrande has now been blown away.
Now, these are the 4 leaders. Pantani is the man who has just destroyed the hopes of Casagrande. He's gone backwards. Richard Virenque rides on the wheel of Pantani, and Mayo Jean Ullrich still there, doesn't look in any kind of trouble, and Bjarne Riis, little bit of a gap there on Bjarne Riis.
Well, Riis, I think, will try and just stay with these three riders for as long as possible, and it could well be that if they don't get dropped by the climbers, the victory could go to Riis. He'd love to win here this afternoon. More than 30,000 spectators have come from Denmark to see him do that. But Phil, one important man who is missing from this group, in fact, is Abraham Alano. He was in third place in the overall standings this morning, and I haven't seen him anywhere.
He certainly was in the springboard position when they came through Bourg d'Oisans. Alano has missed this move. But, you know, some riders have to start slowly. They can't match the acceleration of these riders, and they gradually climb back into the action. And Alano now must hope that happens to him.
Well, the man who's got so many nicknames, Elefantino, they call him in France, the Pirate, they call him in Italy. Marco Pantani is just thinking now about raising up this pace a little bit to try and crack the riders behind him. But it was amazing, Phil, to see just a few moments ago all three riders out of the saddle and one sitting comfortably in his seat, and that was Jan Ullrich. This man is climbing with sheer power.
Well, the Maillot Jaune of the Tour de France is really taking part in this race. He's in every move. He's showing everybody he leads this race with such power and such strength. He's riding before a huge audience today now, and it will continue like this all the way to the summit. The last couple of kilometers, well, we'll be lucky to see the road. I think there are so many people up on top of this mountain.
Once again, the other three riders getting out of the saddle, trying to keep their pace, and Ullrich remaining seated. He really has a lot of power coming out of the back of the out of the bottom of his back there. That's where his strength comes from, and of course his thighs. Looking a little bit further down, that's David Rebellin, and here is Laurent Madouas riding for Lotto, another good mountain climber. There is Abraham Alano. A lot of damage has been done.
He's back with Escartine here, or at least Escartine is another man who tends to climb into the race. But they couldn't handle the acceleration by Pantani about a kilometre back, and they were destroyed by that. They're going to have to recover and hope they can come back. But for me, Riis is already suffering quite badly. Ullrich doesn't look as cool as he has in the past in the Pyrenees. Virenque looks good, and Pantani, well, that man, when he climbs, he is the very, very best. His Zabel, helmet off now. Just a matter of getting to the top on the mountain today, and no more part for him to play in the stage of the Tour de France.
Well, he has a different role now. He has to survive. He actually helped the team get to the bottom of the Alpe d'Huez in a good position. Now all he must do is survive and ride up to the top on his own and make sure that he doesn't get eliminated.
Ullrich, Riis rather, is in difficulty here. He's losing ground on the big three. And Bjarne Riis is going back. He tried desperately to go with this move. He really might have done himself a favour to have continued at his own pace rather than try to live with Pantani's. There's the Danish flags. He's going to see an awful lot of those on the way up the climb.
Well, that's one thing a lot of old riders will tell you. The most difficult thing is once you start to get older, the first thing you lose is the ability to climb. And I think that is exactly what is happening here to Bjarne Riis. He hasn't got the ability to accelerate with these climbers, the pure men like Marco Pantani and Richard Virenque. The younger man, Jan Ullrich, he still has the suppleness in his body, and he can stay there.
Well, who would want to be Bjarne Riis right now, 12 months on from winning the Tour de France in such a dominating style? He's been solely responsible for all these Danish people who've come to this mountain today. And now he's losing contact because of this man here. A vicious acceleration, destroyed all bar Ullrich and Virenque. And being the climber he is, Paul, it's only a matter of time before he does it again.
Most certainly. It's quite remarkable to watch the form of Marco Pantani here, and Richard Virenque at the moment very calm and collected, staying in the slipstream of the little Italian climber, waiting for him to make a mistake. But I have to wonder what Miguel Indurain is thinking about sitting at home watching the television when he sees now Bjarne Riis, last year's winner, the man who defeated him in the same situation as Miguel just 12 months ago.
Well, I think Indurain is a very wise man not having come to this tour this year, because I think he would have found Ullrich a very, very difficult man to beat indeed, especially this year, because it's such a hilly tour. And Ullrich looks very good. He's no reason here for him to attack. He just needs to follow these two, keep them close in his sight. He's got that wonderful feeling of a big buffer over Virenque of 5 minutes and 42 seconds.
Still, since the bottom of the climb, Phil, it's always been Marco Pantani who's been setting the pace, and Ullrich, all he has to do is just to sit there and watch these two climbers and hope that they don't accelerate too often. In fact, now, as we speak, Pantani's putting that acceleration, getting out of the saddle, and I saw a little bit of anguish there on the face of Jan Ullrich.
I honestly think Ullrich is not climbing this hill as well as we all might imagine. And Pantani, being a real pure climber, the other men are strength climbers. This man is an angel. And if he just puts in 1 or 2 more accelerations like he has done, these two won't be with him.
Well, he really knows how to accelerate. He started the day over 9 minutes behind Ullrich in the overall standings. But at the moment, not on the easiest part of the course. As we look at the back of the race now, Luc Leblanc is no longer a challenger in this year's Tour de France.
Well, he's tried to abandon, I think, on a couple of occasions. His team car simply told him to keep going, and he's kept going. There he goes! Pantani has done it again. The other acceleration has come. And this time, Ullrich is going to have to try and do it for himself, because Virenque was caught on one wheel there. And Ullrich, in fact, is climbing right back to him.
Well, that is remarkable. The man who couldn't follow the attack of the climber was Richard Virenque, the man leading the King of the Mountains competition at the moment. And Jan Ullrich, once he saw the gap, he rode across and came right up to the wheel of Marco Pantani. The man suffering now on his own terrain is number 11, Richard Virenque.
Well, we didn't really expect to see this quite yet on the slopes of Alpe d'Huez. But that acceleration from Pantani hurt Richard Virenque. And Ullrich came round very quickly when he spotted Virenque was in trouble, and I think he's gone. Because when you crack on Alpe d'Huez, it happens all of a sudden.
Well, once you go, you really go, and a man like Richard Virenque now must sit up a little bit, try and recuperate, get into a rhythm, and hopefully come back a little bit closer to the top. But Phil, this banner here, 10 kilometers, indicates there's still 6 miles of climbing to the finish.
Marco Pantani surely is not going to lead this race for 6 miles with Ullrich sitting on his back wheel. We have seen 2 tremendous accelerations from Little Italian Pirate, and the only man who has survived those attacks is the maillot jaune of the Tour de France. There's Virenque. He'll hope for a little turnaround of form very quickly if he's going to climb back up to those 2 men who are setting the pace. It is possible, of course. Men do recover as the hill gets longer. Now the gap is there again, another acceleration, and this time he has put Ullrich in trouble. Ullrich a little bit confused here, doesn't know whether to sit up and wait or go.
Well, you see what Ullrich did there. He once again went round the steep side of the inside of the corner. Pantani went around the outside. He could keep his bid going, and now he's opened up the gap.
Now Pantani has pinned them all to the surface of Alpe d'Huez, and he's going to ride away from them now and face the next 5.5 miles or so on his own. This brilliant little climber who almost lost his life in a serious accident in a race nearly 2 years ago. They said he would never walk or ride a bike again. He's now come back 2 years on to Alpe d'Huez, and he's destroying the field here.
Remarkable character. He actually plays in a band as well in his off time, and a couple of years ago he actually wrote the theme music for the Tour of Italy.
And sang it, but I think he better stick to climbing. It wasn't too good.
Well, those gaps aren't major for the moment, and it's very difficult for Marco Pantani to find a way through the crowd here. I don't think, Phil, in the last few years I've ever seen a crowd quite so big here on the slopes of the Alpe d'Huez. They seem to have come from all 4 corners of Europe.
It certainly is a tremendous atmosphere, and Pantani responding now. This is going to be his great moment. He sits in, he jumps out the saddle, he sits down. Good climbers rarely relax in the same position for very long.
If we're looking at Richard Virenque here, the way he's climbing, I feel he may well be paying for that remarkable time trial he performed yesterday. He probably pushed himself just that little bit too hard, and now he hasn't recovered completely from it, which is why it's been such a hard day for him with only 1 climb.
Well, he's climbing about 15 seconds behind this rider, Jan Ullrich. But Ullrich, only 1 rider in front of him. He is suffering, but he is riding very solidly indeed. He is not suffering from a case of hitting the wall. He's just suffering because of the pace he is setting himself to do. And now look at the crowd now. It's getting bigger and bigger as we get near the summit. There you can see, high in the sky, the villas of Alpe d'Huez, the ski station. And this is our Indian friend, who Pantani really isn't wanting that close, as he continues to keep the spirits up here and ride extremely quickly. Massive crowd now, and it gets thicker as we start the final hairpins up to the summit. He's still pulling away.
22 seconds over Ullrich and 42 seconds over Richard Virenque, so he's doing the job that he has to do, keeping the pace high, keeping himself away from everybody else. This is just another look here. This is a very dangerous maneuver here as the spectator comes up alongside Pantani. He may well have been drinking since very early this morning and have slow reactions.
Welcome, a bottle of water over his head there. They rarely drink water taken from the crowd, but they do pour it over themselves.
one of the most dangerous things you can do riding in the mountains is actually taking drinks from the side of the road, because very often spectators, they go to the mountain streams and fill bottles up with water from there, and that's why very many riders who do drink water from the side of the road end up getting intestinal problems. Strange to see the man who was the winner of the Tour de France last year sitting at the back, actually being paced by somebody else. Francesco Casagrande was setting the pace for him there. As they look up, the riders will get a glimpse for the first time of the Alpe d'Huez.
And another acceleration by Pantani. This time he must have sensed Ullrich might be coming back out of the saddle and kicks again. Very shortly, he'll be up amongst those motorbikes if they don't keep ahead here. Pantani decides it's time to lift the pace just one more notch.
It's amazing to see this man. He gets into a rhythm, then he doesn't feel happy with it, gets out of the saddle and takes it up a couple more miles an hour. Now, an interesting point, Phil, when you see these spectators pouring water over the riders, at the end of a stage like this, if you actually weigh the jersey, it can weigh something like 4 or 5 pounds because it holds all the water in. A lot of riders don't like that.
No, one's nice, but a bucketful's getting a bit too much, I think, and it really does make you feel rather drab and wet, because it is cold as we get towards the summit. There's an ice in the air. We're pretty high up, and there's snow still on the mountain tops above Alpe d'Huez. Basque flag flying, the Italian flag, and that's waving violently now as Pantani continues to try and keep the rhythm he has set. 4 kilometers to go for Jan Ullrich now, so he has in fact dropped back now. That second acceleration by Pantani has moved in 10 seconds away. It's now 32 seconds, the gap over the yellow jersey. Pantani just ploughing through the crowd here as he races now towards the finish. There's another fit athlete trying to keep up with him, but he won't stay there for long.
Well, Pantani's got some very fanatical supporters out there. Many people felt that he wouldn't be competitive in the Tour de France this year because he crashed out of the Tour of Italy, and they said he needed this event actually as preparation for the Tour de France, but I think on this occasion the experts were wrong.
And look now, Paul, the face here of Jan Ullrich. This guy is going to be such a champion. He has learned how to suffer and push himself to the absolute limit. He is not going to concede that much time to the rider ahead of him today. And as far as everybody else is concerned, he's gaining time on them. It's about 600 meters or so now for Marco Pantani. He comes into the town square and he'll race up towards the finishing line now. This must be a marvellous feeling in the life of a professional bike rider to win a stage of the Tour de France at Alpe d'Huez. There's only 2 riders in this race who've ever done it before this year, and that's Roberto Conti and Pantani. And Pantani is going to do it again. So there we are, Elefantino, the pirate, call him what you like, but he's going to be full of smiles when he gets to this finish now, because he's won at the Alpe d'Huez again. And Marco Pantani will also scale the overall classification as well. He hasn't got the sort of time gaps he wanted, though, over Jan Ullrich. As the crowd lets out an enormous cheers, he swings into the finishing straight now. 5 hours the race today. It was all down really to the one last climb of some 14 kilometers. That was what this race was all about today. And Marco Pantani has ridden them all off his wheel right from the very bottom as he comes up to the line now. And the great thing is about this, 2 years ago he was winning, then he was injured, now he's winning again. Pantani crosses the line, the winner at Alpe d'Huez, and here comes the man in yellow. He hasn't conceded that much. Jan Ullrich now, I think, is going to go on to win this Tour de France. Ullrich comes up towards the line. He will get second place, very much best of the rest, and conceding only a few seconds to Marco Pantani. He swings into the home straight now. And what a way to finish when you wear the yellow jersey. This is a big mountain behind him now on the way to Paris. As the clock counts down, he's lost a little bit over that last kilometre. Pantani put on a good sprint towards the end. Ullrich is fighting all of the way to the line. He will concede around about 45 seconds, and that's not so much after all when Pantani was over 9 minutes behind. 46 seconds on the line. And he is the 3rd man on the road now, the king of the mountains, and I think that's what he'll be for the 4th year in succession in Paris. But coming up to the line is Richard Virenque. It's over a minute now since Pantani crossed the line. Richard Virenque will sprint all of the way. He will conserve his 2nd place overall today in the Tour de France, and that will make him feel very content indeed. He concedes, though, 1.5 minutes more or less to Pantani, 1:26.
Well, there you have the stage results. It's Pantani 1st, it's Ullrich 2nd, and Richard Virenque 3rd. But let's quickly now take a look at the general classification, and Jan Ullrich still up there, way on top, and it's going to take a big man, a big result to upstage the young German. It was also